Okay, normalization is my favorite part. I'm not sure how much of a favorite it's going to be having to present it this way. I usually like whiteboard because it's all about drawing arrows between this and that sort of thing. But we'll work with what we got. So what I've done is I've taken a bunch of slides from your book. This is chapter 6. I think it's from the beginning of the chapter. They have an example of a table that needs to be normalized. So I think I'll do one video-ish per normal form and talk about why this table needs to be normalized and how you do it and what you gain from it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so first I'll go over, because the first chart I have here, first table, is a list of normal forms and the definitions. Now, here's the thing. You're only going to be responsible, I need to double check any final material I have, but you're only going to be responsible for these first three. Because most database management systems function fairly well if most of the databases are normalized to third normal form. The other ones are a little bit less straightforward. They're more subtle about how they work, and they're really not a big deal. You can do further reading on that. Maybe I'll put some other videos up on it. I'd have to remember how to explain it. I've had to do it before, but it's kind of nuanced. But anyway, the first three are really easy to understand. Okay, I'll take that back. They're not easy to understand at first. It varies, especially like third really. But I think once you think about it a little bit, then it does make sense. And then you'll wonder why that was confusing in the first place. Alright, so the first normal form, second normal form, third normal form. One big rule, I think they do this fairly consistently, but sometimes people forget, is that each normal form builds on the last. So when you say something's second normal form, that means it is first normal form, plus some other stuff. And same with third normal form. Third normal form means it's first normal form, it's second normal form, and it's other stuff. So, first normal form means it's in a table, no repeating groups or no multi-valued attributes. Those amount to the same thing. They're just presented in different ways. And primary keys identified. So otherwise you have entity integrity in first normal form. So you can have a table of data without it really being necessarily a first normal form, but if you don't have that primary key identified, it's not first normal form. The biggest thing that stands out to me, though, is the multi-valued attributes. So if you look at this, they call it a report layout. Sometimes, you'll get a spreadsheet and all the data's like this, and it's not, like, hey, do something with this, like make it to where we can use this data more effectively or whatever. So what's showing is it's showing employees who have different kinds of job types that they do. That's the job class column here. And it's got their names, etc. Now, what makes this not first normal form are all these boxes that have more than one thing in them. That's one of the big reasons why it's not first normal form. There's no obvious primary key. I mean, maybe you could use the project number because it is unique, but you still need to satisfy the other requirements that you don't have repeating groups or multi-valued attributes. What repeating groups would look like would be employee 1, employee 2, employee 3, and then maybe you'd have one name in each one of those, but it's really just the same kind of data. So these are the main things that stick out to me about not being first normal form. When you have this and this. This is okay, but none of the rest of this stuff is okay. Because you have more than one value in where a row and a column intersect. So anything else? So what are the problems with this? Let's say for whatever reason you've got this whole company. You need data about your employees, about the different kind of job classes, how much you bill for that class, blah, 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 the name of the project, whatever. Let's say you delete this project Evergreen from your database. If this is the way you're storing it, if this is all you have in your database, you lose all the employees that worked on it. And not only that they worked on it, not that they worked on the Evergreen project, which is 15, but you lose their names. You lose what job class they are. You lose all that data. Maybe that's not the only project they'll ever do. If it is, it wouldn't really matter that much. But if this is a company where one employee could work on several different projects, if the only place you're storing data about that employee is under a project, and let's say they're only on one for the time being, the next time they're working on a project, you have to recreate like the name, what their job class is, etc. So that would be the specific thing that I'm talking about. It's called a deletion anomaly. I'm trying to think, is there any other anomalies? Update anomaly. If you need to update, you have to know what project they were working on. You could maybe do some kind of search on the employee names and find out without looking at the project. But the problem is that everything's mixed together. And really, what it comes down to, if you want to loosely put it in a nutshell, what it means for database tables not to be normalized, you've got things just kind of haphazardly mixed together, and there's no systematic assurance that you have one value per intersection of column and row. It's just neither that way. So if you want to see the solution to put it in first normal form, scroll down, not too far, and when you get this. So what this shows you, I can't remember how they identified the primary key. I'll have to see here, but what you'll notice is that every intersection of columns and rows has one value in it. So you got this repetition here. That's okay, as long as you can uniquely identify this row by some combination of the attributes. So for this first normal form, let's see if they can show it down here. So the way you can uniquely identify the row is by a combination of the project number and employee number. I needed something to check for that. So if you see 15 and 103, then you know you're talking about employee name June Arbowl, who's an electrical engineer, and how much they charge and how many hours. If you know those two pieces, if you know 15 and 103, you know everything else. If you know 15 and 101, you know everything else. So you've got a primary key defined. In other words, just to make it clear, it's these two columns combined are your primary key. From that, you can determine everything else. There are still problems with it being in first normal form, but it's in first normal form because you've got a primary key identified, and none of these intersections of rows and columns has more than one data value in it. Now, that's not to say you can't maybe break down, the employee name could be first name, middle initial, last name. You could break that further down, that attribute down into sub attributes, but depending on what you consider one piece of data, make sure that's what. Obviously, more than one employee wouldn't be, unless you had a group that was always 5 employees, right? Maybe you could consider that one data unit. But obviously, having a bunch of employees in one square, one cell, doesn't look like a single attribute. That's really that's first normal form. So next video will be about second normal form.